While the horrific and tragic massacre in Las Vegas couldn't help but occupy all of our minds this week and take our prayers and thoughts to the victims of that horrible situation, not only those who lost their lives and their families, but for those who were seriously injured and continue to recover, an awful lot of other things were going on in government, both at the state and national levels. On the federal level, tax reform and most importantly, tax cuts to stimulate economic growth look like they have a real chance. An effort at bipartisanship to get the economy really moving again above the 3% level at which it's currently chugging along and up to 4%, maybe even 5% is the great goal of tax revision, tax reform, and tax simplification. But this week there were also, on both the state and federal level, cases percolating up regarding reapportionment, the process by which state legislatures design congressional districts. On the federal level, the United States Supreme Court heard the case of Gill versus Whitford, a case coming out of Wisconsin, centered around the question of whether or not the courts should be involved in partisan redistricting. Now, that's something that Democrats had a corner on the market of for decades. You didn't hear quite as much complaining as when Republicans did it. But that case is now moving through the courts. Chief Justice John Roberts, I think, used the best expression of the day when he referred to the model that the plaintiffs were using as sociological gobbledygook. We saw a little bit of that gook here in Pennsylvania, where the Commonwealth Court this week took up a case interestingly captioned the League of Women Voters. Now, the League of Women Voters is ostensibly bipartisan or nonpartisan, but they have on two separate occasions now thrown in the towel completely with partisan Democrats. This case is a partisan Democrat case brought by activist Democrats. Each of the named plaintiffs is, and it's a very interesting read. They're pleading, and just in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a lawyer, but I don't play one on TV, and I really don't want to play one here on the best 60 seconds of your week. It might ruin things. But that pleading reads more like an op-ed than a legal document. And it's rife with factual inaccuracies and appeals to commentary by really far-left organizations. One factual error is based on the 4th Congressional District in which I happen to live. The plaintiffs say, oh, it's been a model of bipartisanship represented by both Democrats. They seem to forget that the 4th Congressional District is renumbered. It used to be the 19th Congressional District, which hasn't been represented by a Democrat in over half a century. So, not letting the facts get in their way, they moved ahead. That case is still got a lot of time ahead of it, but it's very clear that the timing of it raises a lot of questions. Their argument is about the 2011 plan. Check your calendar and see what year we're in. It wreaks havoc, or potentially does, with the 2018 elections. In fact, the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania was honest enough to admit that he plans to, quote unquote, wreak havoc with the reapportionment process through this case. And candidates, politically interested people, and most importantly, voters have the right to expect some sort of orderly, consistent, predictable process for the 2018 elections, especially now that we have at least 4 members of Congress who aren't running again, and perhaps a 5th. There are going to be a lot of competitive elections in 2018, and candidates and voters have a constitutional right to an orderly, predictable process, not one that's brought at the 11th hour and after generations of partisan gerrymandering. The term gerrymander goes back over 200 years to Elbridge Gerry, the once Vice President of the United States up in Massachusetts. Check out his partisan registration, if you will. But reapportionment is a subject we're going to hear a lot about over the course of the next couple of months and into the 2018 cycle. So stay tuned for the next best 60-ish seconds of your week.